Peter Williams is a lecturer in Policing and Terrorism at John Moores University. He joins us live from Liverpool. Thanks so much for your time. Now, as we've heard, the attacker was a former prisoner jailed for terrorism but released on parole. And the attack happened when he was actually attending a conference on prisoner rehabilitation, the irony of it. What does all of this say about the system in the UK and rehabilitation, especially of terror convicts?
Well, I mean, that's a very wide-ranging question. What I think I'd sort of draw your viewers' attention to is the fact that about 3 weeks ago, the threat alert status here in the United Kingdom was reduced by the Joint Terrorism Analysis Centre from severe, where it had been since 2014, to substantial. Now, in the wider context, that indicates to me that there was no specific intelligence at that time, and at the moment that we were likely to see an attack with a terrorist motive. And of course, that would include this specific attack. What I would also point out, of course, is what we need to consider when we look at any specific terror attack. It is where it has happened and when it happened. And if you look at this, this is an iconic location, as Mehmet has just indicated, in London Bridge, in the central London. It's also in the middle of a general election campaign in the lead up to Christmas. And of course, for any would-be terrorist, that is a golden opportunity to maximise media and global coverage, which is what this has also been designed to do. So there's a few issues that need to be considered. One of them will be, of course, it's clear that this man was aligned in some respect to what we'd say is probably ISIS, given his previous background. And about 3-4 weeks ago, of course, although it was an American-led attack, the leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi, met his demise at with American forces. So that will be considered as well. So a lot of issues to consider here in relation to this specific attack.
Yeah, a lot of issues indeed. One of the things that Prime Minister Boris Johnson has come out to say is that there should be longer sentences for those convicted of terrorism crimes. Do you think that that is something that will actually work to deter terrorism at all?
Well, I've got mixed feelings on that. It's all very well saying longer sentences, and that will appeal to a certain part of the electorate during a general election campaign. But what I would point out to your viewers is the fact that, of course, I'm afraid to say, prisons are notorious for radicalisation. And it's radicalisation of particularly of Muslim males and those motivated by sort of Islamic dissidents, where we've seen that. So I don't necessarily concur that longer prison sentences are the answer here. What I do think that we do need to address, under the UK's counter-terrorism strategy, one of the key elements of that is what we call prevent. And a link to that is also called the Channel Programme, which is a programme where people who are considered at risk of radicalisation voluntarily go through a process of de-radicalisation, referred to as the Channel Programme. Now, I'd like to see far more research and far more investment in those sort of measures, rather than what appears to be an easy answer to this by longer prison sentences, which in fact just stores up problems for the future.
Oh, so many things to take into consideration looking towards the future. Peter Williams, fantastic to get your take on that. Appreciate your time.